What can I say? Sonia, one of the characters introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield and just about one of my favorites. I know these games get a fair amount of discussion, and while the story itself often comes under fire, I actually like it. The characters were definitely one of the highlights. Just getting to see how they all interact with the player and each other, it really did feel like they all existed in the world before and independent of the player. It's been a while since I've done this sort of video, and honestly, I haven't even really done a whole lot like it, but I feel that now would be a good time to gush about Sonia. So we first meet her toward the beginning of the game, and I do like how she's placed in context with the other characters, which slowly starts to reveal a bit more about her. For one thing, she's Professor Magnolia's granddaughter. Now, while I don't dislike Magnolia, she doesn't do all too much aside from getting us started on the journey. She is older, and so she really does just stay in the southern region of Galar most of the time. And this is consistent with other Pokemon professors, who will maybe check in every once in a while and then congratulate you after you become a champion, but generally they aren't a main part of the story with a few exceptions. Sonia instead becomes a stand-in for the professor, taking a bit more of an active role by assisting the player in learning more about the mysteries of the legendary Pokemon. Alongside her and inspired by her, we chip away at the many layers of long history and discover the truth. Yeah, she basically is an exposition machine, but Pokemon as a whole is just a bunch of reading and pretty colors. Sometimes people even forget the reading part. And to its credit, Sword and Shield has a lot of cute little cutscenes throughout the main story, and the one with Sonia discovering the hidden statues is one of my favorites for how it uses visuals and facial expressions to communicate without dialogue. And she isn't just figuring out the lore of the Galar region, she's doing a lot of figuring things out for herself. And yeah, I do love that by the end of the game, her research is rewarded with her becoming the new professor. It's a moment that makes you realize exactly why Magnolia wasn't all that present, because her granddaughter was the one meant to do all the work and take up the mantle. Though, it comes as a nice end cap to her story here, because she's sort of in a point in her life where she doesn't have all that much direction. A part of it was that she was childhood friends with Leon. The two of them took the gym challenge together, much like the player is currently doing alongside their friends, but back then, Sonia ended up dropping out of the challenge, while Leon went on to become the top Pokemon trainer in Galar. They were still friends and get to talk and hang out, but she definitely was sort of left behind in all of this. And with the overall theme of Sword and Shield being moving from one generation to the next, as I brought up before, she kind of fits into the new generation thematically, further separating her from Leon. She's still kind of in between because she is older than the player and all the other kids, but that's just why fully becoming a professor and getting the lab coat is much more satisfying. And it's also great that the DLC with the I Love Armor and Crown Tundra allows her to spend time as the professor, even tying into Hop's story of working as her assistant. And that's a whole other thing looking back in retrospect now that we know Professor Laventon was his ancestor. But going back to focusing on Sonia, yeah, the DLC really was a great opportunity to continue catching up with the characters we know and love from the base game. Might have been even better if it was expanded more, but she did allow us to meet the Swords of Justice in the Crown Tundra later on, which I've never made a full video about, well, that event at the very least, but boy, I don't know what's up with Pokemon games including a bunch of hidden objects to unlock a certain Pokemon. Here, Sonia gives us the task of helping her research by tracking down footprints of each Pokemon in order to find them and eventually make some curry with Keldeo. Well, it was much better than the pain of whatever was going on with Swordward and Shieldbird in the postgame. You know what I like most about her and some of the surrounding characters is the taste of backstory that we get. Honestly, there's just a little bit in the video game and a little more in things like the anime, which by the way is a pretty good adaptation. It's where we get little glimpses into that history. Though being a part of Journeys and not having the full context of the game story is okay, but at least Sonia is cute here. I also really like how she appears to not be all too interested at first, kind of showing her being a little aimless, but then really getting into things and having this fun, excited personality as she tracks down more clues to Zacian and Zamazenta. Though the anime that I really appreciate is the Twilight Wings series, which gives us little episodes focused on some of the Sword and Shield characters. In episode 4, we see her eating at a cafe with Nessa, who is the main focus, so I like getting to see a little more of their friendship, better establishing it here. And there's some great contrast between their personalities, but being there for each other is exactly what they need. Here, Sonia is able to give Nessa a little advice and encouragement when she's feeling down, leading to some great payoff in this episode. But over in Pokemon Masters, during the third winter event, Sonia is the one who could use a little encouragement. We find out that during the holidays, Sonia is excited to finally take some time away from work and hang out with Leon and Nessa, her two best friends. Unbeknownst to her, they're actually going to be busy now as they're helping to deliver presents across the island. She feels a little guilty for not knowing because she was so engrossed in her research, which on top of that was why she hadn't really gotten to spend a lot of time with them. It's a cute story and honestly a little too relatable when you become an adult, but I commend it for that. Thankfully, they're all able to take a step back and reevaluate things, coming together in the end to celebrate a winter-themed holiday that somehow isn't Christmas. Speaking of Pokemon Masters, they do some great remixes of music from the video games. And while Sonia's theme is cool, the mobile game turns it into a battle theme that is genuinely one of my favorites in the entire franchise. The beginning of it just gives me goosebumps. It's appropriately exciting and bubbly with just the tiniest bit of edge. It's electric, perfect for her signature Pokemon Yamper. We don't see her battle in the main games, but this is the Pokemon associated with her. It's got a nice bright color and makes a fun companion for a professor character. In the trading card game, there was a Bolton V illustration rare that featured her in the background, maybe implying it had evolved, or at least just existing within one continuity. Because a lot of other Sonia related merchandise just mixes things up and still includes the regular Yamper, there is a wholesome vibe all about it. While yes, Sonia was one of the attracted characters that you could easily put in marketing and merchandise and thumbnails, I'm glad at the core of all of it was a fun and relatable character we got to know. And over the years of Generation 8, it was almost a slow burn to learn even more about her, specifically how she sees her friends and herself that made her endearing and fun to cheer for. It would be nice for all the details to be brought in up front, not just for Sonia, but her friends as well, but at least with how wide the Pokemon franchise is, it allows every aspect to come together in creating a character. Sonia teaches us that growing up doesn't mean growing apart, but when we truly connect and work together with our friends, we can discover not only things about the world, but things about ourselves. Failures might seem like obstacles for the moment, but at the end of the day, our loved ones believed in us all along and knew that we'd succeed and become the best we can be. Well, let me know what you think about Sonia in the comments below, and I'm sure you'll say something about Sonia, so just tell me how you like this type of video and if I hit things right. Not sure how soon I'll do more like this and who about, but for now I am very glad to have been along with Sonia for the ride. Thank you to every channel member for your support, including the great Gators. First name, last name, Yo Saxon, Brian794, Johnny, Skyprince777, Olive Branch, Malguy, Draco Hunter, JP, Jacksident Prone, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Tyler Hopper, Lockadox, Koi13, Cemetery Hill, Cosmo Zero, Cheesit62, GatorKid509, TF, Mathaclock947, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our monthly members first podcast, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
The scale of battle has changed in the Pokemon trading card game, Sword and Shield, Rebel Clash. Each booster pack of 10 cards sold separately. Cards vary by pack.